Hello and welcome to Capacity TV. My name is Saf Malik, Deputy Editor at Capacity. We're here at the Subex User Conference in Athens, Greece, and it's my pleasure to be joined by Harsha Angeri, who's the VP for Corporate Strategy at Subex. Harsha, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
As VP and Head of AI Business and Corporate Strategy at the Subex, how do you balance long-term strategic planning with rapid AI innovation?
That's an interesting question. So let me kind of take you back in time. So I've been doing corporate strategy for quite some time in my career, right? So we used to always do 5-year plans. And at some point in time, it became 3+2. And then the 2 went away and it became 3. And then we said 1+2. And today what we do is we think about, direction rather than a destination. So that's kind of how it has evolved because the field of AI is moving so fast that you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So we have a North Star in terms of how we think about roadmaps, where we want to get to in a year, but how we get there and what technology we use is something we keep open, and we have kind of quarterly milestones. So that's kind of how we do it. So we keep track. We have a team that does a lot of experiments to see feasibility of bringing in any new technology into our products. But that's essentially how it has changed. So it's long term, but it's more like a North Star. But our activities are very fast and it shifts almost on a quarterly kind of basis.
And how do you see AI transforming the OSS BSS stack for telecom operators over the next few years?
So one of the big changes that's happening because of generative AI, right? I think this is the one that's kind of disrupting a lot of stacks. And I think one simple way to think about it is what we call as intent-based economy. What is exactly happening now is historically all technology stacks basically give you a lot of information. I mean, take the simplest example of Google search. When you search, it gives you a whole bunch of links, but it was your job to figure out, what makes sense for you. And today, what is happening is you give the same intent, which is I want an outcome, and the system does all the activity to actually, crunch through all those links and actually give you an answer. So you go from your intent to answer, unlike earlier where intent led to a lot of information. We needed metrics, dashboards, and so on. But it was a human who had to kind of think through as to what they need to do there. And that's the fundamental shift. And that's the same shift that's happening in the OSS and BSS stack. So essentially what is happening is the data layer is increasingly getting exposed to generative AI. I mean, there are mechanisms like what's called as model context protocol. It's MCP. So the key thing that's happening is we are exposing data directly to generative AI. Generative AI LLMs can do a lot of business logic reasoning. So there is kind of a disintermediation between the data layer and the logic layer. And so you can see co-pilots coming in, you can see agents coming, some of which will directly work with the data, and some of it will go through the traditional rules or traditional systems that already exist, like traditional AI ML models, and then process on top of that. So that's the fundamental shift. But as a user, it is becoming intent-led. So I don't need to go figure out, what my fraud patterns are. It's more like asking a question, where should I focus today? Your job now is increasingly becoming what questions matter, what should I ask? And the system and the stack will take care of everything else. So that's the big shift, data and business logic getting separated, and LLMs doing a lot of heavy lifting in terms of, managing the business layer, reasoning on top of it, and so on.
And tell us a little bit about how AI agents can be used to kind of detect and investigate fraud.
Yeah, so like I said, there is a separation that's happening. So when you think of this large language model layer that's coming on top of most systems, these large language models can come in different ways. So one, it can come in, we use the term augmented, which is, more like a co-pilot or a assistant to the human. And to your question, the other mode is what we call as agentic, right? Which is, it has a lot of agency. It can take a lot of decisions, actions, and so on. So in case of fraud investigation, what we have done is, so fraud gets flagged. either through rule-based or AI ML models. But once it is flagged, today there is a human who sits and manually investigates. And what does investigation mean? They have to do a whole bunch of checks. Is this a blacklisted number? Was there a wrong IP here? Did the same person make multiple calls in a few seconds, which kind of indicates it is a bot calling or something like that. What we have now done is we have taken that SOP, as we call it, standard operating procedure. An LLM now takes it, understands what is happening here. It has the ability as an agent to do all these checks. So it can hit an API to figure out if it is a blacklisted number. It can write code to do, joins and pivot tables and so on the data to see if a lot of calls have happened in a very short period of time. So that's how the agent starts working. So it basically takes the standard operating procedure that a human is doing. It literally breaks it down into steps. It has access to a whole bunch of tools and databases and APIs and so on. So it literally then starts working through it. And as it works through it, it has the intelligence to see what is happening here. Am I building a case? Is this a fraud case? Or is there some mistake that has happened? Because, in this industry, false positives is a big issue. So is this a false positive? It was wrongly flagged as fraud and I shouldn't be doing it. So it starts reasoning and then it takes action in terms of either blocking the number or, intimating to a human saying that, hey, look, this is my investigation. This is the case file. And it literally emails it to that person. So that's kind of how it basically mimicking what a human does, but it's a large language model does the whole thing. But the biggest, advantage is what took, let's say, half an hour in the agents that we are, which is in the field, it takes about less than 2 minutes, right? So where is half an hour, where is 2 minutes? And these agents can work 24/7, which humans can't, right? So one of the big metrics people measure is how soon can I catch the fraud? And if you're doing 24/7 investigation, obviously that metric starts looking really good, right? You can immediately catch the fraud. But that's essentially how it does. The large language model orchestrates. It has access to tools, functions, APIs, and it goes through this operating procedure and takes a lot of actions.
Awesome. Harsha, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
And thank you for watching Tastin TV.